Well, thank you for that, Nathaniel. And a week that surprisingly saw a bit of an increase in energy prices. Much of this due to the fact that, yes, our energy markets continue to exercise undue levels of panic over federal central banks in the US Fed raising interest rates and being concerned about inflation. But it would appear that finally there is some evidence that demand in places like China and India are no longer the thing we have the luxury of ignoring. And for that reason, we saw across much of the country, beginning, I would say, last Tuesday, a net increase of about 4 to 5 cents a liter. Now, some places, of course, haven't experienced that quite yet, but needless to say, they're beginning to be noticed again. I know I'm getting some media calls on gas prices for the first time in a few months. Look, we are in that month, as we talked about before, Nathaniel, where February, you won't see much happening. January, a little bit of a blip at the beginning, but now it's March. Refineries are now switching over, or beginning the process of switching over from winter to summer blends of gasoline. They changed what's called the RVP, read vapor pressure mandates, which of course require that they change the composition of the gasoline so that it doesn't evaporate or create, a knock-on effect, if you will, on the environment. So they change the composition from things like butane, which we use in the winter, great igniter, but you don't want to have it in the summer. It becomes extraordinarily volatile, to alkylates, and alkylates are an extraordinarily expensive product. We're also going to see a bit of an increase this year, thanks to the federal government's move on the second carbon tax, the clean fuel standard. So you're going to start to see more ethanol introduced, and of course, it'll be celebrated as a wonderful boon by major oil companies. We saw this here with Imperial Oil out in Alberta saying what a great thing it'll be. We're putting more money into biofuels. What that really means is that in order to reach the cap that the federal government has established or imposed on so-called CO2 emissions, it means that they're going to have to find a way to reduce those. And the only way you can do that is by importing ethanol from the United States. Now, you heard what I said. Ethanol will have to be imported from the United States. So we know down there the process by which you do it is not at all carbon neutral. In fact, it's very carbon intensive. So Canada will be offsetting its carbon by importing it from another part of the world. That aside, it means that we're going to start to see poor mileage and efficiency in most of our vehicles over the next several years. By 2025, the move from 10 to 15% ethanol is likely to not satisfy the quest to get 15% cuts in emissions. So that we're going to have to go to the carbon credit market. That's why we here at Canadians for Affordable Energy have contended with studies that there will be, in fact, about a 25 to 30 cent increase over and above the carbon tax, the existing one the federal government is putting in place. And that's less than a month away. The carbon tax will increase by about 4 cents a liter with a 3.25 plus HST or GST, depending on where you are in the country. And will bring average prices of the carbon tax about 16 cents a liter on an average of $1.40, $1.45. You can see that that is much higher than the rate of inflation that the Bank of Canada is trying to fight. So what does that mean for the week ahead, Nathaniel? Well, it's the beginning of what could be a substantial rise in the price of gasoline. It won't happen overnight. It's going to be gradual as we head towards April and May. But I would expect week over week an average of about a 3 cent increase. Diesel will probably stay somewhat more neutral. We're going to be watching the storm affecting goods parts of the United States and Eastern Canada. That could have a bit of a dampening effect on demand. So we may very well see these increases delayed another week or two. But sooner or later, reality is going to have to catch up with markets. The fundamentals don't lie. And of course, it doesn't help that we're evidence of now China in its market starting to pick up and heading towards demand numbers that they have never seen that are unprecedented compared to last year, where demand there was at levels we hadn't seen since the mid-1990s. What that really means, look for an average 3 cents for gasoline in pretty much every region of the country. So if you don't like $1.83 in Vancouver, you don't like $1.27 in Calgary, you don't like $1.47, 48 in Toronto, $1.65 in Montreal, and an average of about $1.56 to $1.60 in the Maritimes, add another 3 cents to that, and we'll be back to give you more bad news next week as well.